Hello and welcome back to Urban Yoke Homestead. Benvenuti, bentornati. Io mi chiamo Giulia, my name is Giulia, and as always, I am delighted to have you here. So, in this video, we're going to go through a checklist, a moving to Italy checklist, and well, pretty much everything is done except for a few items which you'll see later on in the video. If you are new here, myself, my husband, and our 6 cats are busy immigrating from South Africa to Italy, and well, this is our journey, and hopefully you come along and have a few questions for me to answer as well. So, step number 1. So we knew we were moving to Italy, and the first step was to figure out how to get there. I personally am an Italian citizen, and so for me it was mostly just about moving over and moving my residency back to Italy. Whereas for my husband, he is only a South African citizen, and to bring him over was a bit more complicated, so we had to figure out what was the best route. Considering that we were married, we knew that it had something to do with a spousal kind of visa, and so we eventually came to family cohesion visa, which allows me to apply for family cohesion while he is visiting on a tourist visa. We didn't decide to go it alone though, and eventually found, well, actually my husband did find the law firm that we are using now, and they are helping us through the process just to make sure we don't miss any steps. One of the biggest reasons for this is because, law changes quite frequently, and if you're not familiar with law in that specific area, it can be very confusing. And then Italian immigration is very localized as much of Europe, so it's very much that you need to get into what the comune, so the municipality, actually wants from you, as well as the region. Okay, so now we had figured out how we're going to do this, and in order to get those exact details, we had to find a place to live. And so we found a place in northern Italy. It's absolutely gorgeous from what we hear. I was able to have some family go down and have a look at it for us before moving there, and apparently it's quite beautiful, though a little bit remote. Now, obviously, remote in Europe, I mean, let's be honest, it's not, remote in South Africa. These are two very different worlds, or even remote, Canada, for example. But for Italy, it is quite remote and still has access to public transport and, access to medical care and those kinds of things that come with being in a city, but not having to deal with city life. So that suited us just fine. So number 2 was done. We had a place to live. Then it was about, what are we going to keep? How long does it take to get there? And how do we get it there? First, before we even decided the what do we keep, we had to figure out, the how do we get it there, because what does that cost? So we found a moving company, ExecuMove. I'll leave a link down below. Just note, no sponsorships for this at all. These are just companies that we are using for our move to Italy. Alright, so we found the company ExecuMove and got quotations from them, which are quite reasonable, I would say, and we were able to fill a fair amount of space within our budget to take over some things that are important to us and a few things for some other people as well. So that was quite nice. Then how long does it take to get there? Well, it can take 4 to 6 months for it to arrive, and that's generally what they expect, so we wanted our things to be shipped quite a few months before we were planning on arriving, mostly because we wanted to have our things fairly soon after arriving in Italy, so that we could go through it all, separate what goes to other people, and set up our lives. Wanted to move on with our lives as soon as possible. On that note, we were expecting to arrive in Italy in September, believe it or not, but now I'll be arriving in July, and my husband very likely in September, and our belongings will be arriving somewhere in between there. So now we had that done, our belongings were being shipped, but then, as you heard, we have 6 cats, and we are simply not ready, or those kinds of people that will not take them with, in the sense that we had the opportunity to take them with, and so we took it. We saved up quite a bit, and now we're taking 6 cats with us to Italy, which has been quite an interesting ride. And we're using Global Paws, which is a pet travel agency here in South Africa, and I would definitely recommend using a well-established pet travel agency to do any kind of international or domestic move if it's long distance. They really do make a difference, and they can really help you in terms of cost, and they can help you in terms of, you know, narrowing down when things have to be done. So it takes a lot of burden off of your shoulders, and they're going to be handled by professional animal handlers. This makes a huge difference for us. So that is done. We figured out how they're going to be traveling, and we paid for it, which was fantastic. I will do a full cost analysis video once we are in Italy and everything is done and my husband's also there, and then we can break down exactly what it took for us to move overseas. Well, move from South Africa to Italy at least, because obviously any country could be quite different. So we know we got a travel booked. Then it was about getting our paperwork in order. If you are South African, or if you've ever had to deal with South African bureaucracy, you know how long this can take. It can be weeks, months, who knows. Sometimes it's a few hours, and that's usually the rare occasions. And so it involved us having to renew our passports, having to get an unabridged marriage certificate, and then get an apostille stamp on that marriage certificate. And that took a very long time. From signing to actually getting the certificate was almost a year. It's quite intense, but it's a very long time to actually get everything done. So it was a matter of getting all of that paperwork done, because while we would need the passports to travel, for myself to leave the country, and for my husband to get his visa, and then for the marriage certificate with the apostille stamp, that is to give to the Italian government to prove that we are married and you know, have a legal union. And that is what they will base the family cohesion visa on. So it was a very important piece of document, and everything was done there. So another check, number 5, done. Love it. Then we had to move on to booking our flights. Fantastic. This was something that was a very exciting moment for me. I haven't booked a flight in very many years, and this is for not just for visiting family or kind of traveling because of my chronic illness, which you can know more about in links down below, but you know, it's about taking a new step in life with somebody that I absolutely adore and love, and it's truly amazing to be able to follow a path together and have a dream that we are both focused on. It is truly awesome. It's awesome sauce. I don't know how else to put it. But so we got our flights booked, and that involved me basically booking to go to Italy, and then my husband, who will be visiting family in South Africa, and he'll see him in a few months after arriving in Italy. Yay, I can't wait. Alright, so that's done. And in terms of paperwork, so making sure that our passports were up to date, we got all of that done, and then we had to basically start packing our bags and seeing what fits in the bags and how much it weighs and what we can keep. And we've begun doing that. We are in the process of doing that, so it's like half a check at the moment, but it will be done in the next few weeks. As well, it can only take so much stuff, and the shipping's already gone, so this is the last and final cut of everything. Not that we have very much. Luckily, it's mostly clothes and some blankets that are left and a few things that I'm taking as a little starter pack for myself there in Italy. So all of that's done, and that was the part of our journey that is in South Africa. And then once I fly over, I'll be flying over to initiate our new life, as that's how I see it in any way. So my job will be to register my residency at the comune, so the municipality of the village that we're going to be living in. And then once that registration is complete, we can move over to the next step, and that's applying for a tourist visa for my husband, once he arrives in Italy, we can then apply for family cohesion, or at least I'll be applying for family cohesion, and he'll have an appointment with the police headquarters of the region, and they will make a decision on whether he can stay or not. And I'm pretty sure they will say yes. I have very little doubts, and even if they do have an issue with something, we do have a lawyer involved, like I said, so they will be helping us through that process, which is, I mean, very relieving. As I've mentioned, it's very relieving. So I will, if you have the opportunity to do it that way, definitely at least consult with a lawyer to get the right path for your specific circumstance. So now that we've applied for the family cohesion visa, and should it go through positively, then he'll be able to stay for 1 full tax year, and within that time prove that he is a tax-paying citizen and abides to the laws. Then he'll be able to apply for his 10-year residency permit, and after about 3 years in Italy, plus with learning Italian, then he'll be able to apply for Italian citizenship, and we can continue just living our lives and hopefully grow very old together and likely die in some alpine pathway somewhere. It will be beautiful, it will be magical, and it'll be somewhat poetic, and that's the way anyone should go, in my opinion. So that's it. That's the checklist. We've got most of it done. We've got the South African portion done. So our steps 1 to 8 are complete, and then 9 to 17 are still to be done, which is mostly a lot of flying, registering, and waiting for registration to come through. But soon enough, it will all be done, and yeah, we'll be having a beautiful white Christmas together. Not that either of us care too much about the holiday, but the idea of just being together at a time that's designated for family and friends in a very different environment to what we used to will definitely signify a chapter, you know, turning of the page and a new chapter in our lives. I'm looking forward to that, and I cannot wait to share a lot of that with you. So again, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. And as always, I will see you in the next video with the next update. Alla prossima! Ciao!